Many Pokemon have signature moves that represent what they're all about. Only Goldango can learn Make It Rain, which makes perfect sense for a Pokemon made of coins. But what's up, fellas? I'm Matt, and some Pokemon have more than one signature move, so that's what Elias, Expel, and I are gonna look at today. Alright, let's get started.
What's up? I'm Elias, and we've got a ton of moves to look at today. Let's kick things off with Marowak. In Gen 1, it had two signature moves. Bone Club is 65 base power and 85% accurate, and it also has a 10% chance to flinch. That's not the greatest move in the universe, so Cubone typically learns it at a low level. Later on, you'll learn a much better signature move to take its place. Bone Meringue is 50 base power, and it hits twice, for an effective power of 100. That's the same as Earthquake, but Bone Meringue is only 90% accurate.
Just a fair warning, prepare yourself for some very long paragraphs today.
I give up. I quit YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Welcome back to MEPlaysGames. It's Matt.
But Marowak often uses this move anyway, because hitting twice gives Bone Meringue some extra use cases. If your opponent is holding a Focus Sash, Earthquake can't knock them out on its own. But Bone Meringue will break the Sash with its first hit, then it can score a KO with the second. That also works if your opponent's ability is Sturdy. Multi-hit moves are also nice if your opponent has a substitute. If the first hit breaks the sub, the second deals damage directly to the target, another luxury that Earthquake doesn't have. Well, unless Mega Kangaskhan uses it, but that's besides the point. Bone Meringue also only hits one target in doubles, whereas Earthquake hits everything else on the field, including your teammate.
Bone Rush also used to be a signature move, but now Lucario and Mandibuzz can also learn it. Alolan Marowak can learn all of the Bone moves too, but it also has yet another signature attack. Shadow Bone is a Ghost-type clone of Liquidation. It's 85 base power, 100% accurate, and has a chance to lower defense. It's a more reliable stab option than Poltergeist, but Marowak will sometimes run both moves in competitive singles. Poltergeist does more damage, but it fails if the target has no item. Shadow Bone gives you ghost damage, even if one of your teammates has used knockoff on the target.
Many other Pokemon used to have more than one signature move, but at least one of them became more widely distributed later on. As an example, Hitmonlee had 3 signature moves in Gen 1, but several Pokemon can learn Rolling Kick, Jump Kick, and High Jump Kick nowadays. Much to Elias' chagrin, Hitmonlee cannot learn Axe Kick.
Yeah, well, Hitmonlee should just be able to learn all the kicks, so.
For the sake of time, we won't be going over most of the former signature moves today. We'll save those for another video.
Vespiquen has 3 signature moves of her own. Attack Order is a bug-type version of Leaf Blade. It's 90 power and has a high critical hit ratio, but Attack Order doesn't make contact, which makes it a safer move to use against select targets. Defend Order raises your defense and special defense by 1 stage apiece. That's the same effect as Cosmic Power, but Defend Order has half as many power points. Points of power, if you will.
Vespiquen's last signature move is Heal Order. As you might expect, this is one of Recover's many clones. It heals half its max HP, but Vespiquen rarely uses this move. That's because it can also learn Roost, which does the same thing and removes its flying type for the rest of the turn. Bug Flying is an atrocious defensive combination, so Vespiquen appreciates being able to change its typing, even though said change is temporary. Heal Order was also deleted from the game anyway in Gen 8, because Game Freak hates bees or something.
It's snowing quite hard right now, these like huge fluffy snowflakes.
Yeah, it snowed like 3 times in the last week in New York.
Now let's take a look at the Let's Go games, because partner Pikachu and Eevee both got a bunch of signature moves. Eevee got a whopping 9 new attacks in this game. First up, VV Volley is an upgraded clone of Return. The higher Eevee's friendship is, the more damage this move will deal, maxing out at 102 power. Unlike Return though, VV Volley isn't affected by accuracy modifiers, so it'll never miss.
And the names only get stupider from here. Well, here we go. The other 8 moves are 90 base power and 100% accurate, and there's one for each evolution type. Each move also has some kind of secondary effect. After Batty Bad and Glitzy Glow deal damage, they set up Reflect and Light Screen respectively. Buzzy Buzz paralyzes the target, Sizzly Slide burns them, and Sappy Seed gives them the effects of Leech Seed. Oh boy. Bouncy Bubble is a draining move, which heals half the damage dealt back to Eevee. Freezy Frost resets stat changes on the whole field to 0, which is the same effect as Haze. Partner Eevee's final signature move is Sparkly Swirl, a fairy-type move that cures non-volatile statuses for the whole party.
Thanks to all of these signature moves, as well as the partner Eevee stat buffs, it's actually a viable Pokemon in Let's Go's version of Overused. These games have a very limited selection of moves in Pokemon, no held items besides the Mega Stones, and no abilities whatsoever. That means Sparkly Swirl is the only way to cure statuses in competitive Let's Go. Sappy Seed is also useful because it allows Eevee to recover health, which makes up for its lacking defensive stats. So, can you explain Let's Go?
No. I haven't played it because my Joy-Cons don't work. Sizzly Slide and Buzzy Buzz are nice moves too, because of their ability to spread status conditions. You know, saying these move names over and over and over kind of makes me feel ridiculous, but oh well, the show must go on. Regular Eevee has 2 more signature moves as well. Its Z move is great, and its G-Max move is not. That brings Eevee's total up to 11 signature moves, which is the most in the series.
Eevee is the new Pikachu.
It's been the new Pikachu for a while. Like, it's been like a secondary mascot for quite a bit now.
Extreme Evo Boost is Eevee's upgraded version of Last Resort. Upon using this move, Eevee gives itself a double Omni Boost, meaning all of its stats are raised by 2 stages. Unfortunately, an Eevee on steroids is still an Eevee, so not very strong. Fortunately, it can also learn Baton Pass, so it can give those stat boosts to a much better Pokemon. Could you imagine Barry Bonds on steroids?
Whoa, you just blew my mind, bro.
That gave Eevee a niche in various formats, but if you want to pull off this strategy, you need a metric ton of support from the rest of your team. Gigantamax Eevee's G-Max Cuddle is terrible because its secondary effect is Attraction, which only works if the target is the opposite gender. The odds of that happening are roughly 50-50, which is much less reliable than other Max and G-Max moves. As for partner- oh, sorry.
You're fired. As for partner Pikachu, it also has a return clone. Oh no. Pika-Papow is another ridiculous name, but I digress. It's a special electric move that never misses, and its power is also based on friendship. Aside from that, Pikachu also gets Zippy Zap, a +2 priority electric move. That puts it in the same priority bracket as Extreme Speed, but Zippy Zap is also guaranteed to land a critical hit. Splishy Splash is a water-type move with a 30% chance to paralyze, because of course it is. Of course Pikachu is gonna hit you with electrically charged water. Finally, there's Floaty Fall, a flying-type move with a chance to flinch. Jesus Christ, these moves.
Floaty Fall. Regular Pikachu also has an additional signature move. Volt Tackle is, well, it's what Wild Charge should have been. It's an electric type clone of Double Edge, and it also has a chance to paralyze. The standard way to learn this move is through breeding. If you have a Pokemon holding a Light Ball, and you breed it to make a baby Pichu, it'll know Volt Tackle when it's born.
This move hits pretty hard, especially if Pikachu holds a Light Ball in battle. This signature item doubles Pikachu's damage output, which makes its attack stat comparable to Groudon and Zekrom. For better or worse though, Pikachu is incredibly frail, so using one on your team will give you limited mileage. Unlike the moves from Let's Go, Pikachu's whole evolution line can use Volt Tackle.
Pikachu also got a signature Z move. By holding a Picanium Z, Volt Tackle turns into
Catastropika.
Catastropika. It's 210 base power, which is tied for the strongest Z move in the game, alongside Snorlax's Pulverizing Pancake. Pikachu's Cap forms have a Z move of their own as well. By holding a Pikachunium what? By holding a Pikachunium Z, you get 10 million Volt Thunderbolt, a 195 power move with a 50% chance to crit. As you might have guessed, it's an upgraded version of Water Spout. No, of course not. It's an upgraded version of Thunderbolt.
That paragraph was an absolute disaster, and you should feel bad about it, and you suck.
Look at some of the stupid ass words I had to read here, okay?
Alolan Raichu has a signature Z move too. Stoked Spark Surfer is 175 base power, and it's guaranteed to paralyze the target. I'm not done! Pikachu also has a signature move when it Gigantamaxes in Gen 8. G-Max Volt Crash deals damage to one Pokemon, then paralyzes all of your opponents. So between the members of Pikachu's evolution line and all their alternate forms, this family has a total of 9 signature moves. Many other Pokemon have a regular signature move, alongside a signature Z move or G-Max move. Toxtricity has Overdrive and G-Max Stun Shock, for example. But once again, we're gonna save those for another time.
Zygarde has 4 signature moves of its own. 3 of them are ground-type attacks with very similar properties. 1000 Arrows, 1000 Waves, and Land's Wrath are all 90 base power, 100% accurate, and spread moves in doubles. But each move has a different additional effect. 1000 Arrows bypasses all ground-type immunities and deals damage to flying types, levitate users, air balloon holders, and Pokemon under the effects of telekinesis and magnet rise. It also knocks Pokemon out of the sky, allowing them to be hit by other ground moves.
1000 Waves can't hit flying types, but it does trap the target. Switching out is an important tool, so blocking that option can be very useful. And then there's Land's Wrath, which does nothing. It has no secondary effect whatsoever, so it's completely outclassed by its other ground moves. There's one thing worth noting here though. 1000 Arrows and 1000 Waves didn't exist till Gen 7. In Gen 6, Zygarde's only signature move was Land's Wrath, but since that move is 90 base power and has no secondary effect, it's a strictly worse version of Earthquake in single battles.
Land's Wrath does have an advantage over Earthquake in doubles though. It hits both opponents, but unlike Earthquake, it doesn't hit your teammate. So it's a safe way to spam ground type spread damage, but there's no reason to use Land's Wrath whatsoever in Gen 7 onwards, now that 1000 Arrows and 1000 Waves exist.
Oh yeah, remember how I told you about a radio-only episode of Jeopardy that had picture clues?
Oh yes?
Yeah, they aired that on TV yesterday. They just decided the last minute they were going to put it on television and remove any mention of it ever being on the radio until the very end. Zygarde's fourth signature move is Core Enforcer. This move is fine in a vacuum, but Zygarde isn't a very good user for this attack. It's a 100 base power dragon type move, and it suppresses the target's ability for as long as they stay in the battle, as long as that target has already used the move this turn. Sure, why not? The problem is that Core Enforcer is a special move, and Zygarde has a higher physical attack stat. Its special attack isn't atrocious or anything, but physical stats are usually the way to go.
The Porygon line has two signature moves that change their type. First up is Conversion, which has been overhauled multiple times. In Gen 1, it simply changes your type to match the target. That can be a handy defensive tool because many types resist themselves. In Gens 2 through 5, Conversion changes your type to match one of the moves you know. So if Porygon Z knows Blizzard, Conversion, Thunderbolt, and Psychic, it can become an Ice, Normal, Electric, or Psychic type at random. Starting in Gen 6, it changes your type to match the move in the first slot. So if you know the same 4 moves in that order, Conversion will now always make Porygon an Ice type.
In Gen 2, the Porygon line also got Conversion 2. This move randomly changes your type to something that resists the move that last hit you. So if you get hit by a normal type move, Conversion 2 will make you either a Rock, Steel, or Ghost type, because immunities also count. Starting in Gen 6, it works slightly differently though. Now Conversion 2 can target any Pokemon on the field, and change your type to resist whatever move they used last. It doesn't necessarily have to be a move that hit Porygon.
The definition of a signature move is a little bit fuzzy. Victini has 2 signature moves. Sort of. Searing Shot is a stronger version of Lava Plume, hitting for 100 base power instead of 80, but its other move, V-create, is where we run into trouble. It's an absurdly strong move, clocking in at 180 base power, but in exchange, it lowers both of your defense stats and your speed by 1 stage apiece.
Victini is the only Pokemon that can learn V-create through normal means, but one other Pokemon has access to it. A V-create Rayquaza was distributed in Gen 5 to celebrate the 15th anniversary of Pokemon Red and Green. That being said, I think it's fair to count this as a signature move for Victini anyway.
If you go out and catch a regular Rayquaza, you won't be able to teach it V-create, but Victini can learn the move by level up as of Gen 8. Event distributions are all over the place as well. There's one that gave out an Octazooka Sableye of all things. There were also some events that gave Victini signature moves that belong to other Pokemon, which makes the definition of the term even fuzzier. We'll be talking about them a little later.
The way I learned Base Clef was great big dogs fight animals, all cows eat grass.
I know all cows eat grass.
I think I've also heard all cars eat gas.
That's stupid.
Cinderace has some great signature moves. Pyro Ball is a strong fire move with a chance to burn, and Core Change makes battle effects swap sides. So if your opponent has something like a Screen or Tailwind on their side, you can use Core Change to steal them. But most importantly, this move also makes Entry Hazards swap sides. That makes it an incredible tool in singles, because if your opponent set up a billion hazards, you can use Core Change to make it their problem instead.
The other Galar starters have signature stab moves of their own. Rillaboom's Drum Beating is 80 power and 100% accurate, and it lowers the target's speed by 1 stage. Inteleon's Snipe Shot has the same power and accuracy, but it has a high critical hit ratio. It also always aims for the intended target, ignoring the effects of redirection efforts like Storm Drain, Ally Switch, and Follow Me. I just ate lunch. 2 eggs, half a can of Spam. That's quite a bit of protein. While I was making lunch, I ate 2 Baby Bells. So that's 8 grams of protein, 140 calories.
Elias is going to be the most ripped man in the universe within 3 weeks. All 3 starters have signature G-Max moves. G-Max Fireball, G-Max Drum Solo, and G-Max Hydro Snipe all have the same properties, aside from their types of course. They're 160 base power moves that ignore the effects of abilities. That means they bypass immunities like Flash Fire, Sap Sipper, Water Absorb, and Wonder Guard, as well as damage reduction abilities like Thick Fat and Heat Proof.
There are a ton of Pokemon with more than one signature move, so we decided to phone a friend. X-Bell has a terrific Pokemon channel of his own, and the 3 of us decided that we all wanted to make a video together.
Revavroom has a bunch of signature moves. Well, sort of. Spin Out is a 100 base power steal move, but it lowers the user's speed by 2 stages. The other moves can't be accessed by the player because they belong to Team Star's Starmobiles. Blazing Torque has a chance to burn, Wicked Torque can put the target to sleep, Noxious Torque can poison, Combat Torque can paralyze, and Magical Torque can cause confusion. So on paper, Revavroom has 6 signature moves, but you can't actually use 5 of them yourself. Alright, now let's take a look at Gen 5's primary legendary trio. Reshiram and Zekrom each have 2 signature moves. Blue Flare and Bolt Strike are strong moves with 85% accuracy, and they have a chance to burn or paralyze the target respectively. The next 2 moves synergize with each other in double battles, but they can also work against each other. Zekrom's Fusion Bolt is a 100 base power electric type move, but if the previous move used on the same turn was Reshiram's move Fusion Flare, Fusion Bolt will double to 200 power. That also works the other way around. If Zekrom uses Fusion Bolt first, Fusion Flare's power will double if it comes next. Kyurem can also learn these moves by fusing with Zekrom and Reshiram. These fusion attacks replace Scary Face in Kyurem's moveset. If you have Reshiram and Zekrom on the same team, the properties of these moves can be quite nice. But if you have one of these moves and your opponent has the other, you could run into issues. If you use Fusion Bolt, that'll power up your opponent's Fusion Flare and vice versa, so that can potentially cause problems in singles and doubles alike. Each fused form of Kyurem also gets an additional signature move. If you fuse with Reshiram, White Kyurem gets Ice Burn. This move is an ice type version of Blue Flare, but it's stronger, more accurate, and has a higher chance to burn. By fusing with Zekrom, you get Black Kyurem, which learns Freeze Shock instead. It has the same properties as Ice Burn, but it has a paralysis chance instead. To compensate for these upgraded attributes though, these moves take 2 turns to execute. And we're still not done, because regular Kyurem also has a signature move of its own. Glaciate is a slightly stronger clone of Icy Wind, lowering both opponents' speed stats in doubles. If Kyurem fuses with one of the other legendaries, Glaciate will be replaced with Freeze Shock or Ice Burn. A series of events in Gen 5 gave Victini access to many of these moves too. During the holiday season in 2012, an event in Japan gave you a Victini that knew V-create, Glaciate, Blue Flare, and Bolt Strike. There were also a handful of events that gave out a Victini with the 2 fusion moves.
A little, MEPlaysGames lore for you all. After we recorded last week's video, we attempted to play Wheel of Fortune over Dolphin Net play. It did not go well. It was so laggy, and Elias nearly had a mental breakdown trying to solve the puzzle Put Your Best Foot Forward before he ran out of time.
Yeah, that was horrible.
He accidentally put in Put Your Best Foot Forward.
In a similar vein, Calyrex has 2 different signature moves depending on which horse it fuses with. If you choose Glastrier, it'll learn Glacial Lance, and if you choose Spectrier, you'll get Astral Barrage instead. They're both strong spread moves with no drawbacks or secondary effects. So these moves are pretty simple, but they're very effective in VGC and Smogon formats alike. Eternatus has 2 signature moves of its own. Eternabeam is 160 power, 90% accurate, and requires you to recharge after it hits. That makes it a stronger version of Dialga's Roar of Time, which in turn is a clone of Hyper Beam. Dynamax Cannon is a more pedestrian dragon type move. It's 100 power and 100% accurate, but it doubles to 200 power if the target is Dynamaxed. But since Dynamax doesn't exist in Gen 9, it's just a standard attack with no secondary effects. The Applin evolution line has 3 branches, and each final evolution has 2 signature moves. The boys here on MEPlaysGames have covered them all in detail in another video, so I'll keep it brief for today. Flapple and Appleton each have a grass-type signature move that comes with a guaranteed stat drop. Flapple's move Gravapple drops the target's defense by 1 stage, and Appleton's move Apple Acid drops special defense instead. They also have their own G-Max moves. Flapple gets G-Max Tartness, which lowers the opponent's evasion stats. Appleton gets G-Max Sweetness, which heals status conditions on its side of the field. Hydrapple can't learn any of these attacks, but it has 2 signature moves of its own. Fickle Beam is an 80 power dragon type move, but it has a 30% chance to double in power to 160. On average, this move's expected power is 104. Syrup Bomb is a pretty weak move in terms of base power, but it lowers the target's speed by 1 stage for 3 turns in a row.
By next week's video, I will have written a piano concerto, and Elias will be performing it at Carnegie Hall yesterday.
Yeah, you guys missed it.
It was great.
Cresselia's signature moves both have something to do with healing. Lunar Dance causes Cresselia to faint, but in exchange, the Pokemon that takes its place gets fully healed. They get all their HP and power points back, and they lose their non-volatile status if they had one. Lunar Blessing heals 25% of Cresselia's health, and it also heals 25% for its teammate in doubles. It also cures non-volatile statuses for both Pokemon. In Gen 4, Manaphy had the signature move Heart Swap. This move makes Manaphy perform a heart transplant on itself. No, it doesn't. It switches the user and target's stat changes, which can be pretty useful. You can use it to steal an opponent's stat boost, so it's a niche option in some singles metagames. Manaphy got another signature move in Pokemon Legends Arceus, although it shares this one with its, offspring Fione. Take Heart is an upgraded version of Calm Mind. It raises the user's special attack and special defense by 1 stage apiece, and it also heals non-volatile statuses if you have one.
Halfway through the second movement, Elias rage quit and just started slamming his hands on random keys.
To be fair, that's what Matt had written.
That is what I wrote, yes.
Kommo-o has 2 standard signature moves, as well as its very own Z move. Clinging Scales is a 110 power dragon-type spread move, but it comes with a drawback of lowering its defense by 1 stage. In any case, it's a solid choice for a stab move. If you hold a Commonium Z, this move gets upgraded to Clangorous Soul Blaze. After dealing damage, this move also gives Kommo-o an Omni boost, raising all its stats by 1 stage. Z moves were deleted from the game in Sword and Shield, but Kommo-o was given a new signature move which is quite similar to Clangorous Soul Blaze. Clangorous Soul Nothing doesn't deal damage, but it does boost all of Kommo-o's stats at the cost of 1/3 of its max HP. This bad boy classifies as a sound move, which pairs well with an unusual held item. If Kommo-o uses a sound-based move, Throat Spray will raise its special attack by 1 stage. So by using Clangorous Soul, you get +2 special attack and +1 in every other stat. Not bad. Clangorous Soul is also a dance move, so if Oricorio sees this move, it'll copy it and get an Omni boost of its own. It's the only move that falls into both the sound and dance categories.
If we're gonna do an April Fool's video, we probably should write it up and record it in the next couple weeks because, if all goes well, I'm going to be on the other side of the country on April Fool's Day. Ideally, on April 1st, I am flying to I'd have to make that video ahead of time.
That's not a good sign.
What's not a good sign? Oh, being on a plane on April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
The Galarian Slow Twins each got a signature move in Gen 8. Slowbro got Shell Sidearm, a poison type move that can be either physical or special depending on which one the game thinks will deal more damage. That's the only signature move it got though, so we're done talking about this guy. Let's take a look at Galarian Slowking instead. Eerie Spell is an 80 power psychic type move, but it also takes 3 power points from the target's most recent move. That's like fine I guess, but Slowking would rather use well, just about any other viable psychic move actually. If you look at Galarian Slowking's Smogon pages, you'll find sets that recommend Psychic, Psyshock, Future Sight, and Psychic Noise, but not Eerie Spell. Lowering power points isn't a terrible effect or anything, but Eerie Spell deals less damage than most of its other options. Its other signature move is Chilly Reception, which it shares with its Johtonian cousin. Slowking switches out and sets up Snow, which has a multitude of use cases. For one, Snow can give your Ice-type teammates a boost by raising their defense and boosting Blizzard's accuracy. But since Slowking is slow, Chilly Reception will probably go last, which means another Pokemon can switch in without getting hit on the same turn.
This is your captain speaking. This plane will not be traveling to your intended destination. We'll just be flying in circles above the airport for 5 hours.
Hoopa has 2 forms, and each one has a different signature move. The confined form has Hyperspace Hole, which has the same type and base power as Eerie Spell, but Hyperspace Hole has 2 useful effects. First off, it skips accuracy checks, so it won't miss unless the target is semi-invulnerable. But Hyperspace Hole also bypasses Protect, and it's one of just a handful of moves that can do so. In fact, it removes the protection effect entirely, which would allow your teammates to hit a protecting opponent too. But Hoopa has never been VGC legal because Mythicals are banned in most formats. They were allowed for a while in Sword and Shield, but Hoopa wasn't in those games. The Unbound form's signature move is Hyperspace Fury, a 100 power Dark-type move with many of the same effects. It bypasses accuracy checks and hits through protection, the same way that Hyperspace Hole does. But Hyperspace Fury also lowers Hoopa's defense by 1 stage.
Hey, what the hell, man? It's snowing outside now. Why'd you send the snow here?
Oh, it did stop snowing.
Oh, God.
Necrozma has several signature moves to call its own, and it gains even more by fusing with Sun and Moon's box legendaries. Prismatic Laser is another upgraded clone of Hyper Beam. Unlike Eterna Beam though, Prismatic Laser is 100% accurate in Psychic type. Photon Geyser is a 100 power move that ignores abilities when it deals damage. That means it can hit through Wonder Guard, land critical hits if the target has battle armor or shell armor, and so on and so on. This move can also change damage categories. Normally, it's a special move, but if Necrozma's attack stat is higher, it becomes physical instead. Photon Geyser can also be upgraded into Ultra Necrozma's signature Z move, Light That Burns the Sky. This move is 200 power and has the same additional properties as the base move. It ignores the target's ability, and it'll be a physical move if Necrozma has a higher attack stat. If Necrozma fuses with Solgaleo or Lunala, it gains access to their signature moves as well. Duskmane Necrozma gets Solgaleo's move Sunsteel Strike, which can be upgraded to the Z move Searing Sunrays Smash. These moves are similar to Photon Geyser and Light That Burns the Sky, but Solgaleo's moves are Steel type and they strictly deal physical damage. If you fuse with Lunala, Dawnwing's Necrozma gets Moongeist Beam and Menacing Moonrays Maelstrom instead. Once again, these moves had the same properties as Necrozma's moves, but they're Ghost type and always deal special damage.
You know, it started well, and then I think Matt ran out of patience, and then he literally wrote, just hit random keys, and that's Matt.
We call them cluster chords in this house.
Sure thing, buddy. By holding a Pikachunium, what?
Pikachunium.
This is different from Picanium?
Yes, it is. How many grams of protein are in 70-something hot dogs? Like, how much protein can Joey Chestnut fit in him at one time?
Probably too much.
14 grams of protein times 70 hot dogs, that's nearly a kilogram of protein.
Wow. That's more food than you're supposed to eat in a day.
That doesn't even make... That's 2 pounds of protein. The end.